All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the latest coaching changes. So there's been a couple. Um, you know, def- sorry, I can't talk for some reason right now. So we have a head coaching spot that's been filled. Also, a couple of coordinator things that I wanted to touch upon as well. Um, Actually, there's one I don't think I mentioned this on yesterday's show or the previous show, but the Steelers hiring Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. I know my friend who's a Steelers fan is upset about it. I know a Steelers YouTuber that I watch, he was upset about it. Um, but yeah, so obviously he was the Falcons head coach for the last 3 seasons. Went 7-10 this year. But the main thing is it's just like the people were just questioning why he was the whole Bijan Robinson thing at times during the year where he really wasn't using him. I mean, then you had that weird situation where against the Bucks where I guess he was sick and he was playing, then he wasn't playing, and then he came back. I don't know. I forget what happened there, but it just was weird how he just his usage for Bijan Robinson. But I mean, as a coordinator, with the Titans, you go back, when he was with the Titans, kind of revitalized Ryan Tannehill's career. So I mean, we'll see what he's like as a offensive coordinator now with the Steelers. But I know people are just talking about, well, now he's not going to use Freiermuth, he's not going to use George Pickens. Yeah, we'll see. But I know people are complaining about it. Um, so but that's what the Steelers decided to do. So I know I didn't bring that up during the show, but I just wanted to. I know I did a short on it, but I didn't talk about it on the show here. But the main thing is that I wanted to get into is the Seahawks hiring Mike Macdonald. So spent the previous couple seasons with the Ravens as their defensive coordinator. He's not going to become the youngest head coach in the NFL. So you go from Pete Carroll, who was one of the oldest, or I think was the oldest head coach in the NFL, to now the youngest head coach in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, listen, he coached up a top defense in the NFL this season with the Ravens. He actually was with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan for a season. He was the defensive coordinator for Michigan. Um, so he's an understudy, having spent 7 more seasons on the Ravens defensive staff from 2014 to 2020. Yeah, so the Seahawks go from the NFL's oldest head coach the oldest head coach to the current youngest coach. Yeah, and listen, and a lot of people just talking him up, saying this is going to be a top coaching candidate, and now he lands in Seattle. And we'll see what happens there. Now, for me, again, I kind of am on that side of you need more of an offensive guy, but then again, you go and you look at what the Texans have done, like I said, with DeMeco Ryans. It's not to say that defensive guys can't be head coaches, but the way the game is now, you kind of want to bring in someone that maybe has, more of an offensive background. But listen, the Texans, they did a great job. They drafted C.J. Stroud. They have a good offensive coordinator in Slowick, and with DeMeco Ryans as the head coach, being more of a defensive guy, it worked out for them. And in Seattle, their issue is they need to find a quarterback, because it's not, unfortunately for Geno Smith, it was a nice story, but he's not the long-term answer there. He's not. The Seahawks need to, hey, maybe they bring back Russ. No, they need to address the quarterback position. Because you look at their offensive side of the ball, with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker, they have some nice pieces on the offensive side of the ball. They just need the quarterback, and if they can get the quarterback right, well, then you bring in, great people to help run the offense, and because I think Macdonald's still got to put together a staff, I believe. He could focus on the defense. Well, obviously being the head coach, but defense is a strong suit. You help out the defense because the Seahawks have defensive talent as well. Witherspoon, their rookie corner. They the Seahawks are not this team that just is far away from being, a contender, at least to make the playoffs. They just they need a quarterback, which, again, for some organizations, they've been looking for quarterbacks for years. The Seahawks, they have a good roster. They just need that quarterback. So they're not far away from being a contender. And listen, they made the playoffs last year. It's not like they, and a lot of people didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but they did. So, yeah, like I said, I'm kind of like on the side of, well, I think you should bring in an offensive guy, but you know what? We'll see what he does. And again, you see what the Texans have been able to do. So, again, we'll see how it goes. But, it's a good hire. I don't think there's really been anything negative towards this hire. So, again, we'll see how it goes. But the other thing, other coordinator stuff, the Titans, they hired a Denard Wilson as their defensive coordinator. So he spent the past season as the Ravens DB's coach under Mike Macdonald. So you would think coming from that staff that that's a good hire. Wilson was on Nick Sirianni's staff from 2021 to 2022 and spent time as the DB's coach with the Rams and Jets earlier in his career. He was a candidate for the Titans and Giants DC jobs, and he now gets a chance to be on Tennessee's defensive play call with Brian Callahan as the head coach. So we'll see how that goes for the Titans. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Boston College's head coach leaving, Jeff Heffley. Is that how you pronounce it? Hafley? I hope that's how you pronounce it. I said Heffley, like Greg Heffley from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. I apologize for the mispronunciation if I'm not. Hafley leaves Boston College to be the Packers defensive coordinator. Now, he runs a different kind of defense than Joe Barry, because I did see that a lot of people like the hire. I think one of the things I saw is that he runs more, I think, press coverage, and because the Packers just will be playing like zone, I guess, with Barry. So I know Packers fans really liked that. Listen, I guess he jumped on the opportunity. He's like, I can get a coaching job in the NFL. I'm going to take that right away. And I just saw on the comment on the post I was looking at, they're like, I guess he's abandoning us. The Packers, and that's something big, because the Packers, that was kind of the weakness of the team. The offense was up and down all year. The defense, but the offense eventually found its groove at the end of the season to get to the playoffs. The defense, he gave up 30 points to the Panthers, and then they didn't score a point the last 2 weeks of the season. They needed to change something there. Now, me personally, I actually thought Joe Barry did enough to keep his job. I honestly didn't think Matt LaFleur was going to fire him or get rid of him. And they did. They let him go. And, now they bring in the head coach from Boston College, Hafley, and or Hafley, or however you pronounce it. Again, apologize for the mispronunciation if I'm not saying it right. If he comes in and he does his job, the Packers, they're going to be a good team next year. They should. The offense, Jordan Love again now, year 2 being the starter, another year with the young receivers, and the Packers have talent on defense. They do. It's just they need the right person to, put them get them on the right track. And, we'll see if that can happen here. But from what I saw, it seems like, at least on social media, people like the hire. So, but now we look at the landscape here, and there's only one coaching job left, and that is the Washington Commanders. Now, again, I heard, other people probably heard this too, when Kevin Burkhardt said that Ben Johnson was the favorite to get the Commanders job. He's no longer available. He's staying with the Lions. What are the Commanders going to do? because you still got Belichick out there, and it doesn't seem like anything's happening there. You still got Vrabel out there. What are they gonna do? I don't know. I don't know. It's just gonna be odd that Belichick and Vrabel might not have jobs. And I understand with some people with Vrabel saying, well, he's only won, two playoff games. It's it's not like he's had great success in the playoffs. I mean, the Titans make the playoffs, but the last couple of years not so much. But it's not like they really have that much success once they get there. But I don't know. I mean, I still think he's a good coach. Titans were the 1 seed a couple of years ago, even though I think they were kind of a little bit of a fraudulent 1 seed. But still, like, they were the 1 seed. Again, like, they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game the first year that Mahomes won the Super Bowl. Like, he's had success. It's just he hasn't been able to get them to the Super Bowl. And recently, again, the playoff success, he has had success, but, like, the recent success, not so much. But I don't know. I still think he should, get a job. I mean, what? That's it? I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, there's 1 spot remaining. And I don't know. We might see Vrabel and Belichick, not coaching next year, which is going to be strange. More so for Belichick, because you thought like a team would just, immediately snatch him up, but I guess not. I guess like, with with him wanting control still, I guess maybe that might have scared some teams off, scared the Falcons off, I guess, because they went in and they hired Raheem Morris. So it's odd, but yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at right now. Belichick and Vrabel, we might not be seeing them on the sidelines next year. So, but there's 1 spot remaining. So, but again, like, something could come out and a head coach loses their job out of nowhere. And then that opens the door for him. But I don't know if that's going to happen. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's definitely an interesting time, especially now if they end up not getting anything. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about the recent hires. The Packers, getting a new DC, Seahawks new head coach, the Titans their new DC. Let me know if you have any comments on that. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we'll talk about a team that maybe should have changed head coaches, but they can't for reasons. We're going to talk about the Jets behind the scenes because there was some stuff that's come out from The Athletic on what went on throughout the season, stuff involving Robert Saleh. We'll get into all that when we come back from our final break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.